Hello, Bravehearts, Urbanites, and Coach Mad Hatters. We're going to log this into the channel as Exhibit A into our journey by heart. Now, I knew when I started the channel that I ran the risk of being misconstrued and my words being mangled. And it's amazing how certain things like just roll off into people's comforting assumptions without ever getting clarity. It still baffles me. How is it that we never get the inkling to say, well, you know what, let me call and make sure that's what she meant when she said what she was talking about, whatever she said. Especially if I'm going to lurk in the shadows and sit on um, this binging energy and watch all of her videos like she's specifically talking to me or about me. Part of the core reasons why I figured not do this. But inside the space of you have more content to share through your discoveries, then you need worry about what folks will say to you on a personal level, um, because they want to add fuel to a fire that need not exist. With that said, I felt compelled. I felt compelled to add to days 6, 7, and 8. And at first, I wasn't sure if I was going to pull cards, but now I am. Because inside this very ingenious book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, number 5, and remember, the 5 inside tarot is so chaotic. It is so chaotic. And so, number 5 is to better understand, then be understood. And I call myself making way on this road to redemption. But sometimes you damn if you do and you damn if you don't. Especially when you are on this journey called Temet to know thyself. And everything that I spoke about in relation to one being in tune with themselves was not to be misconstrued and mismanaged to indicate in any way, shape, form, or fashion around selfishness. Understand why people do what it is that they do before you want to begin yelling from the rooftops what you think you know. Inside the context, the content, and the context of the Coach Mad Hatter's banner is all about journey with thyself for the sole purpose of redemption, remedy, reconstruction, paradigm shifting, so that when you do show up, you land on the right side of the story, on the inside the right placement at the table. The hermit mode is upon you. If you are journeying with self, And you figure like you must entertain the trigger that says Coach TC is somehow subliminally talking about me. And I'm just going to say Coach TC because that is the force by which I stand in when I get up here and I record and upload in the public domain. I'm not personally throwing shade to anyone. There's not a human on this planet that I shall have a problem with that I can't call and discuss that shit with you directly. I don't lurk in the shadows. For what? And I'm damn sure not going to lay it all out in YouTubeville when it's about me and you. And I'm giving light to it right now. And trust me, I don't have a problem with it if I gotta give light to it again. Hmm. But seeing is that you listen to me more, and in this situation, maybe you'll get it. You'll get it. If it resonates, appreciate. So we are on a road to self-healing. And that is what I mean when I talk about relationship to self. That is what I mean when I say that you must first fill up your own cup and then you can share. It also takes into account the goddess Nzambi, Nzambi. I spoke about her earlier in a segment with the Seagoat Squad. I will link it to this one. I will link it to Exhibit A so that you and I can have a better understanding. Inside the theory, not even the practice right now, inside the theory of tribal honorarium, there will be those that you won't quite understand what they came to this realm for. And if you constantly contemplate them only in human terms through the conditioning of by which we were socially bred and raised, you will always get it wrong. We are inside paradigm shifting time. If it resonates, appreciate. And I know so many people are going to have to contend with running the risk of their words being misconstrued and their good intentions being infiltrated. We are losing the patience to get the whole story. In the mix of that, it's going to always be this perpetual underlining of incomplete acquaintances, incomplete correspondence. I thought I was done for the day. I did. I thought I was done for the day. Um, and then got the notion that this installation is necessary. And so we're going to talk about Nanny McPhee. We're going to talk about how this weird, witchy like woman showed up at the doorstep to this guy who lost his wife and had 7 outlandish children, and how she magically taught them 5 lessons that by the time she left, not only were they healed, but so was she. It ties into our Chiron, our wounded healer aspects of every human inside this realm. We all have wounds. Now, some folks' wounds show out greater than others. Um, some folks have wounds who they are more clever at hiding them. Some folks are on a more rapid road to healing and redemption. Some takes a much longer, a little while longer. Some are almost nearly in completion of phase 1, 2, and 3. Some are just getting started. Some don't even know that they need to be on it. We are all in different places and spaces within our human experience. Some will serve as the example, whether it's an example that they themselves will learn a lesson, or it'll be of a more broader where they themselves and others will learn from their hardship, their challenges, their perplexities. I often say we spend so much time judging the wrong shit. Like, I'm now tuning into those whom really do sit with self to gain a better idea of the bigger picture. I was able to tap into a clip with Jada Pinkett Smith and her mom, her brother, and Willow around the red table, and they were talking about forgiveness. And right off the break, they make mention that forgiveness is for self. And now, in the midst of this recording, I wonder how many people viewed her clip and wondered if the way she spoke had an element of selfishness to it. Like, break down the word selfishness. And I don't mean Google it so that you get the contemporary meaning. I mean, give yourself a holistic experience. Go find an older printed dictionary as well. Infuse your paradigms. Broaden your intellectual horizon. Make way for a newer understanding. Who I love is who I'm going to always love. Love is non negotiable. And most of the time, we can't help who we love. We can't turn it on, we can't turn it off. There are so many people that I know, remember, hairstylist of 20 years. inside the beauty and the barber salon. We often get mad at love because we can't turn it on or turn it off. There are some we wish we could love, and some we wish we ain't love no more. And that's one thing I say about those that love me. God, whomever we shall say that is, put that component there for a reason. I'm going to pause it for a minute. All right, we back. Thank you very much. Um, and I'll probably have to pause it a few more times. Like it's now the later part of the day, and so the house is got movement going on. um, but one of the things that we strive for in side the realm of, cause see, let's okay, so let's take it here. When Alice went tumbling down the rabbit hole, it was because mainly, well, the catalyst being the white rabbit, but mainly the pull, the energy pull to relinquish her into this new world was her emotional tug of war with those around her, and how she had to begin facing her true authentic self and began to stand in the confidence to be able to speak up for herself and not allow people to assume that they knew where she was coming from, how she felt, where she was, who she was, what she came in this realm to do. I promise you, I wish I knew this information in my early 20s. I would have made such a difference in the way I decided certain things and what it is that I would have indulged in and whom I would have indulged in it with. Definitely. And that's not to say I regret anything because I don't. I don't. My birth chart tells me some of the shit that I done been into was so that I could have first-hand knowledge to be able to explain this stuff now. That I had to go. I was destined to go through some shit. Because there are those that the Coach Mad Hatter's banner will need to receive, whose woundings are familiar, and that there's a certain quality of conversation that needs to be had because they are constantly finding themselves bumping and bruised all up by assumption and innuendo and the fucking rumor mill. This emotional infiltration of just wrong information. I have some information. Of course, I have some information. I have some information to share. I think I might continue to shuffle, but I'm not sure. Um, but let's get into this. Let's talk about some things. If you're not one that is interested in pulling your birth chart, you don't care about the details, you think is, inside the realm of spookism, whatever it is, I'm I don't get up here to convince anybody. I really don't. The Mad Hatter did not have to convince Alice to come tumbling down that fucking hole. but he was there for her when she arrived. Those that are meant to sit before this information will sit before this information. That's who this is for. That's who I speak to. I am speaking to the wisdom seekers who need to have better understanding about the information that they already seek, the information that is already destined to become in front of them. Oh, oop, sorry. Ah, yeah, make way for the big girl. Yeah. So, Nanny McPhee. Oh, wait a minute, I might be up on it. Um, Nanny McPhee. And let me just say this. Okay, I think I might be up on it now. It's squeaking. Hold on. Okay. Are we good? Yeah, we good. Okay. Nanny McPhee had this weird but magical mechanism, which I think it is truly a better story about the wounded healer than Pollyanna. But Purdue did their thing, and I have to give them like like respectful reciprocity because the entire article in itself as a whole was immaculate. It was beautiful. It's chopped full of research and developing worthy information. But those who know the story of Nanny McPhee, and once again I will say, it is not just a child's story, and it's not even just a fantasy, fantastical story. There is legendary lessons embedded in the storyline. In conjunction with each lesson that the children were able to learn, Nanny McPhee's healing ensued. So, like, her warts went away, her teeth aligned, her hair changed texture, all on an even though it was on a physical, superficial nature, which I think was mainly done for the support of the storyline. Definitely inside the motion picture version. But there were substantial, invisible forces connected to her healing and them learning these lessons. There is something that you should understand about the way that I work. When you need me but do not want me, then I must stay. When you want me but no longer need me, then I must go. When I initially said that I was going to do a comfy sofa conversation series around Nanny McPhee and the 5 lessons that she had to teach the children, it was coming from the angle of when our inner voice or our intervention, our divine intervention, or our intuition tells us to do something or have us go somewhere or tell us to stop speaking or engaging with someone or tell us to uh, not be distracted or try not to be distracted by this, that, and the third, and we ignore it. we're missing out on the intrinsic details that could serve collectively, serve as reinforcing fibers to the way we decide things, to what we say, what we don't say, who we love. Well, not necessarily like who we love, but in the midst of that, like to bring forth the betterment of ourselves as we love. Maybe I should say that. Okay. And so to piggyback off of what I said at the beginning of this, when we are not really like in charge of who we love, when we do stand in those moments where we wish we could either flip it on or turn it off. Those that love me, I most often say that that is already embedded in the destined choreographed or the destined choreography of our acquaintance, whether it is physically or spiritually or both. Like Anyala Van Zandt say, I love you and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. But on the flip side of that is I love you and there's absolutely nothing that I can do about it. I often joke with my siblings and say that, them loving me is like it's like divine code. Now they might not like me. That you can turn on and off. But you loving me, you can't turn that on and off. And once you love, it's permanent. Now, we might get all flustered and frustrated because certain expectations aren't being met. And we be figuring like those conditions have something to do with the contouring of our love. Does not. Might make you angry, but it ain't gonna shut that love off. That's why there's such a fine line between love and hate. Because when expectations aren't met, or because we think this person is this way, when in actuality they're that way, and we never question or throw an inquiry into the ethos about why is it that the love is for this person per se. We never ask that question. Well, I ain't gonna say we'll never ask that question because I ain't talk to everybody. And right now I'm in a certain bubble of emotion that is really probing and provoking me to like get some shit straight, like clear up some shit. Oh, and I had the quote now that I think, and since I'm just looking at it, conspiring to be part of the magic. Jason Webley. That's a quote, but that's not the quote I was talking about. Um, there's a quote. And I just saw that quote. I know I ain't gonna find it. Cause it's yeah, it's the best thing that I can do for you is work on me. The best thing that you could do for me is work on you. So when I speak about self, and I already distinguished capital S, capital E, capital L, capital F, sacred slash Sankofa energy life force, which is directly connected to one's first senses. So yes, if he don't belong in that relationship with you, he don't belong in that relationship with you. And this is not no shade to anybody like on a romantic level because yeah, I am like solidly, profoundly, like confidently a singleton. Like I don't have that messy shit. I don't deal in messy shit. But because I am a hood interpreter and I have um, certain Coach Mad Hattery relationships that I mm, put forth certain kinds of questions about what we have been conditioned to believe and how it is that we sometimes give way to circumstances and situations that drain us senseless. And I speak up about those things. And one thing I noticed that when I speak to women, it doesn't go too well. Like it doesn't go over too well because they still speak in terms of sides. Like you're either on my side or you're on his side or you know, inside the realm of Coach Mad Hattery, I speak in terms of why you're here, what your natal chart has to say about it, you being on journey with self, rescuing self, on, within, outside, up, under, down, round, round. Yeah, to rescue your childlike empress or emperor, for you to take on the accountability to filling up your own cup. And I promise you, when I say anything that I say on these channels have come through my own mistakes or those whom have been on the road, their own very, very own road to visit to redemption, and they have learned from their mistakes. I hardly ever talk about something that I don't know about firsthand. Hardly ever. My notes have all been accumulated through the inner, like the voice, the instructions from my inner ear. We say, go look at this, go pull this, go investigate this, go talk to this person, call that person, text and see how that person's doing. Like, or, understand how this works. You're in bad space. Don't go calling this person. Don't interrupt this space with this. Allow time to heal between this person, with you and this person. Until you have something better to offer, leave that person be. And this is to include information that I've bumped into that literally set my fucking record straight. Like, I don't read or bump into or investigate or accumulate information that's all pro Thea. We have truly a constructive smorgasbord going here. And more than likely, if I say it to you with tone, that means because it was said to me with tone. If I had to learn the hard lesson, and it does, like I said before, in several other installations, doesn't mean that I am there. But the strong promptings to get on here and record, regardless of being there, just being diligent to my inner voice. I'm being diligent to my inner voice. Just like Water Baby say, she say all the time, if you triggered, you need to have a conversation with self to figure out why you triggered. Just 3, 4 days. Well, remember when my timing's off, but it feels like 3 or 4 days ago. I just had to ask myself that question, and it was almost like her voice chimed in. Thea, why are you triggered? Like the lesson that she brought home that had me, uh, that gave me the privilege to be able to view that thing this way, turn it up and look at it that way. Like she granted me the privilege of a of newer perspective. Incredible. And so the moment that thing clicked in, I mean, it didn't waste no time. I'm so grateful for the way she teaches. Now, it was a combination of like my voice and hers because like her words still have such a lighthearted. Now that's not to say she don't bring it. Like she say, yeah, she don't play no game. She don't allow that implied consent. You know, she don't allow you to be rude and all that crazy ass shit. She don't allow none of that. But she still has a more softness to the way she express herself. And I needed that boom. But it was like a symphony. Like it was like I heard me here and I heard her here and it just kind of harmonized and it synthesized in like, why are you triggered? Why is this triggering you? Like, let's hone into that and understand why this is triggering you. What is this all about? Let's get down to it. So, Nanny McPhee. Oh, got the rambling. So, the 5 lessons of Nanny McPhee. I at first wanted to approach it in the metaphor of us ignoring our intuition. So, like, okay, so the five lessons: go to bed when you're told, and say please. To get up when you're told, and learn how to share. Yeah, get up when you're told and learn how to share. Number 3, get dressed when you're told and learn to work together. Number 4, listen and say thank you. And number 5, to do as you're told and have faith and bravery. Yeah, I'm missing one. No, that's the 5th one. Okay, right. So there's a tier with number 1. So to go to bed when you're told and say please and learn not to fight each other. Part of 1. Mhm. So, so there are times when inside your inner ear, it tells you when it's time to go to bed, when you should be saying please, or when you should not be fighting amongst either yourself or with others. These 5 lessons, if we were to graciously embrace it as Nanny McPhee being our inner ear or our inner senses or the inner healing to our Chiron and Aries, that there's a possibility that with each lesson, a new tier of inner healing takes place. There is still, regardless of where I stand in this experience of life, there is still major instances where I miss the mark. And it strikes me odd because it feels like um, folks are not satisfied unless um, they can point out your shortcomings, or if they can magnify your hurt or your sorrow so that they can match it with theirs. And so I wonder, and I'm just going to pose this. I'm going to pose this mainly to the overbearing, controlling, outlandish women. And when I say I was once you, I pose this with no shame. But are you inside or latched on to a relationship to a dude that you know is a pretty good dude? That he is um, honestly for you, like your genuine cheerleader. No shenanigans, no extracurricular activities, um, no bad spending habits. And I'm not gonna start rolling it down just because it seems to alienate my other fellas who not bad, but this is just their experience. It's their human experience. But I just wonder, and regardless of him being a good fella, your insecurities got you ringing his phone all fucking day and night. Like you not believing him when he say you got to control every aspect of his conversations, whether they with you or someone else. He can't even be on the phone with his mama without you having a problem with it. Like, and I know this gonna ruffle some feathers, but that's what you get for coming into my space. Yeah. So I just wonder. I wonder because I was gonna let it go for the sake of peace, but I don't think it's by mistake that this shenanigan entered into my space on Saturn's day. Because I think if it would have come into my space on any other day, I probably would have let it ride because I'm trying to elevate into a new person. But it questioned me. Coach TC, are you not part of the Coach Mad Hatter's banner? Are you not the ambassador of comfy sofa conversations? Like, are we not talking about this thing called a life experience? Are we not addressing social deconditioning? Are we not? Did you figure you was just gonna be waving your wand around the good stuff? Or did you figure you was just only gonna get up here on YouTube and just be like politically correct? Like you don't even deal in politics. What gives? Yeah. So just know as I record this, yes, I symbolically have the black amethyst right here. So I just wonder, I really do. I just wonder because this journey by heart is not just for women, even though I speak a lot about the ushering in of divine feminine energy. It dwells in all humans, it dwells within all embodiment. And yes, I already know before this 90 days is up, I'm going to have my moment where I'm going to have to pose the question to the fellas. But that's not where we at right now. And for real, this isn't even a question for all the women. I think this question is being posed because, as I mentioned in one of the segments for the Sea Goat Guild, sea, the greatest, um, the greatest of all times, and it's not about one person. We're talking about epoch. We're talking in context of the greatest of all times in this epoch, and how we will be able to condition ourselves, decondition and recondition ourselves to see the greatness from different angles, from a diversified view. And with all of that said, the newness that's being bestowed upon us is not only here to accommodate us, but it is going to hold us accountable for the way we utilize it. And your sassy, out of control, ill mannered temperaments are going to cost you. That's not to say that if you got to bring it and you have to get the record straight, or you have to stand off or face off to protect your own, or like someone or something or some force is within your parameters that you got to slay, then yes, by all means. Remember, we're talking about the utilization wisely, utilizing it wisely. We're not saying don't use it at all. We're not saying like Nzambi say, she didn't have a problem with pride per se. The way it was being utilized, the way that it's being utilized. If you know that dude is, how can I say this? Because I already know feathers are ruffled all over the fucking place by the time this gets to where it's going to go, if anybody's going to view it. If you know you that chick, if you know that you that girl, that woman, I know, but I'm the hood interpreter. So you're not going to rearrange my words. If I feel led to, I will. Okay. If you know that you are that girl, that lady, that one who has a pretty decent dude, he chill, um, and even if he has given you reason in the past, that you all decided that you were going to rework it, redo it, you were into the remix phase, and you have not done your part to go in to try to recalibrate your trust. Folks say once trust has been broken, it never gets back to where it's supposed to be. Maybe it ain't with that, maybe that's not where it's supposed to be. But recalibrated it can be. Recalibrated trust is possible. But that means that you can't fake with it. You can't half ass with it. This also falls under the lines of doing the work. And no one deserves, male or female, deserves to be in relationships where there's absolutely no trust and no one is trying to recalibrate that trust. And I am truly a cut your losses type of person in those areas of life, because healing is for everyone. And if you stay in those type of relationships, healing is not going to come. It's not going to reveal itself. Healing is not going to come forward within those unions where there is no trust. And if you don't trust yourself, you have no trust for anyone else, then that is a sincere indication that you need to be solo for a little while. I could not imagine flying a plane with a co pilot that I didn't trust. And so, what do we think coupling is? It's a moving vehicle. It's a moving vehicle. Inside of every human, there is a voice that says, you ain't supposed to be in this no more. It's good that we're in this. Let's keep going. You should have asked more questions. You've asked enough questions. We're satisfied. You shouldn't have spent all that on that. We got this for a good price. Ask more questions. That's the Nanny McPhee inside of all of us. And so I know a lot of people's legalized matrimonies make them feel that they are cornered into holding on to situations that completely debilitate them. And it will, as long as you stay in that, it will. It really, truly will. And please don't get out of it to try to hop, skip, and scurry along into the next one. Give yourself the same courtship, the same time and attention that you would another human. Give that to you. You are Neo. And it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a guy, you have the spirit of Neo inside you. You must know thyself. And if you have not walked the reins to know thyself and you get into a relationship with someone that you attracted because of your ignorance in knowing thyself, it's going to be even harder for you to undo that knot. So, and look, I'm telling you, I was getting ready to go in like yeah, I was about to go in. Yeah, I was getting ready to go in. But I think I've said enough. I think I've said, what was laid on my heart to say. I believe that I can allow this to cross over into installment 9 for our 90-day journey by heart. Um, yes, I don't even think I need to pull any more cards. I think this the only card that fell out, the hermit mode, the hermit. Excuse me. You must find your way into your innermost caves so that you can stop trying to control the folks that you say you love. And the more and more I investigate love, love truly does mean to step back and let it be itself and to be able to adorn and appreciate and respect and reciprocate as it's in its own unique way. That the moment I try to infiltrate it to change it, it shifts the love. There's a fine line between love and hate. And I cannot throw my expectations on anything that I know that I love. And if I get the inkling that that's what I'm doing, I need to be the one to step back. I need to be in conjunction with myself well enough to say, I'm the one, I'm the problem, and I have to remove myself from this space so that that which I love may have proper safe space to grow and blossom and tap into what it is that they came here for. The journey with self is what I most often equate to the Shiro Hero's journey. And so I'm going to close this segment. I'm going to close Exhibit A out with just reciting real quickly what those 13 steps are. Home base, one's ordinary life and existence. So if you are who I'm speaking to right now and you know the hermit mode is about to be your destiny, before you actively embrace and take hold of that first step across the threshold, you're in your ordinary life. You're in that place where you're still overbearing, thinking you can control folk. And so this segment here, it easily stands as your call. Step number 2, your call. And so step number 3 is refusing the call. I can so see that happening as well. It's all good. It is all good. Just because you ignore it doesn't mean it's going to go away. Number 4, meet up with mentors. Number 5, crossing the threshold. Number 6, tests, allies, and enemies. The dude that you are trying to control is not your enemy for real. He's not your enemy for real. I can't necessarily say that he's an ally either, but you are being tested. Number 7, innermost cave. Number 8, the ordeal. Number 9, reward, seizing the moment, sharpening the sword. Number 10, the road back. Number 11, resurrect. Number 12, return with life's love elixir. Number 13, bonus. Extend special invitations to share, create, and heal story, aka our story. I don't think that any of us came here to be in control of another human being. But I do believe that because of the way things have unfolded, um, we now have to take the situation by the hand. Like that whole by the horns type of shit, trying to force in the shit. I don't believe in all of that. Like, I am pro hand holding, always have been. And it is like amazing for me to be a Capricorn sun and be like pro hand holding. But it has a lot to do with my Chiron and Aries. It has a lot to do with my Saturn and Gemini and the rest of the intricate details of my upbringing. Some things I do feel need to be said, yes, indeed. But that whole leaving you out in the cold and just I'm not. I see things differently in that manner. I don't um, I don't feel that anyone should be left out in the cold. And just as the goddess Nzambi was on her journey to find out, she wanted to know who were the ones that were willing to bring you in from the cold without wanting anything from you. To know that if they had it, it was a blessing for them to have, and some should be set aside for those that will need to be brought in from the cold. That controlling, outlandish aspect of yourself. No, unreasonable. Sometimes we can be outlandish, but that unreasonable aspect of yourself that makes you think that your fella, your dude, your beau is somehow like your kid And even so, like, I'm not into controlling my children. I meet up to hear their individual aspects of their journey, what they came here for, what they are discovering, challenging, unlocking, decoding. Their planet sent them here. I was just the channel by which they got here. But they came with their own agenda too. So, not even to equate your fella being your kid. But even if so, if you treating your dude, you talking to him in a tone like you are somehow his authority, or he talking to you, we're talking respectful reciprocity here. And it has been so fucking lopsided for so fucking long that we really do be walking in this righteous indignation about how we are to maneuver when we are in love, when we are in romance. And some folks get ultra comfy and they do think, they really do think that that world that revolves around them that's considered theirs, their man included, that that fella came to this realm to experience that, and because of some legalized permit to say you are to be in matrimony, that that's the way that that is to be. You're being called to hermit mode. You being called to hermit mode. You're being called to your shero's journey. You are being counseled by Nanny McPhee. The time is now. And so this was interesting. This was very interesting. It was very impromptu. I was so not prepared to do this segment, but I'm glad that I held diligent to my inner voices and did so. Whoever's for, some I know, but it seems like it's a more broader scope than who I initially started the intention for. It feels like as I stay diligent and work this thing through, like the feeling of who it was for just grew and grew and grew, and now it's beyond me. This is just the seed. You may do with it what you will. As I've said in plenty of the other segments, I offer this up in regards to me as the example. And if it can serve as your inner healing, it is yours to have. It is so yours to have. I graciously share. We all gonna learn today. And with that said, I wish you well.